Hello, you beautiful curiosities. We are having a card discussion because everything's been going so crazy, and getting my whole green screen set up has just been a big old mess, but it is coming along very slowly. But just because my life is crazy doesn't mean you guys should miss out on this month's Loot Crate, which is awesome. It's all focused around villains. This is their second villains pack, and it actually got me thinking about the last time I did a video about villains, about a year ago, I think it is now. And we explored a few schools of thought, including Carl Jung and like the shadow self, and maybe we kind of somewhat want to be villains and that they can get away with stuff, and we sort of talked about why we love villains. And in my opinion, we didn't really come to something super conclusive. And we may never come to anything like completely conclusive, but it really did bother me that I'm thinking, these are really terrible people. Why do we love them so much? Like, they do horrible things. Most of the time, I can't even justify even in my most like grumpy mood. So I decided to ask a different question. Instead of what villains do you love, I asked, when was the last time you genuinely remember truly hating a villain? And interestingly enough, the resounding two answers were Joffrey from Game of Thrones and Umbrage from Harry Potter. So I dug a little deeper. I asked, these people, why them? Why them in particular? What made you hate them? And I got an interesting answer that I don't think is actually the truth, to be honest. Because what I got back was essentially that they were cruel and horrible without any reason. And that's not actually true. They had reasons. You just didn't really approve of them. Because the thing about Joffrey and Umbrage is that they're bullies. They're not really villains. They're bullies who've been given way too much power. So they're not gonna have this overall arcing plot of world domination that's going to justify their need to be complete jerk faces. No, because their reasons are a lot more close to home. They're based on this whole inner character of insecurities and who knows else what, which creates this need to absolutely crush people around them who they feel are lower than them, to basically make themselves feel more important and bigger. And that is far more relatable to most of us than, say, being one person against an army of evil, or fighting for your crown, or a bunch of these, like, basically what most of our heroes go through is on such a level that while we may enjoy the story, it's not something we can fully personally connect to. But a bully is. I mean, look at Voldemort, for heaven's sake. I've heard him referred to as Wizard Hitler. Honestly, I'd probably relate him a bit more to the head of the KKK. And I think even people who made the movies would agree with me, as you would notice that the Death Eaters look disturbingly like Wizard KKK. So for the most part, especially if you are white in this country, that is a completely alien sort of concept. While it is terrifying and horrible and we can acknowledge that, that's not something we can really fully relate to. Oh, and on that note, just really briefly, can we remember that basically Death Eaters are the Wizard KKK? I really want to hit that home, because honestly, some of the stuff I see on Tumblr where they're like, I'd be a Death Eater, blah, blah, blah. No, you wouldn't. And if you are, you really need to reassess your priorities and figure your shit out, because you don't want to be a Death Eater. You're basically a wizard racist, if that's the case. And I'm sorry, regardless how cool the Dark Mark looks, you're gonna want to rethink what it means in context of the books before you get it tattooed on your arm. Just saying. But with Joffrey and Umbrage, it isn't about purifying the world of a lesser people or whatever the crap you want to define Voldemort's whole whatever. And it's not about gaining control of all of Westeros and blah blah blah. It's nothing epic or even quite that terrifying, but they go through terrifying means just to make themselves feel better. And that is something everyone has felt. That injustice, that feeling of just being pushed down, and like someone thinks that you're not good enough and they have the right to walk on you. Which really, if you think about it, everyone does have that in the villains pantheon or whatnot. It is on some level about that same level of bullying, but because they've got a greater objective, we don't seem to mind it as much. And regardless how much you say, well, I love villains, yeah, you love how they're written, you love how they're created, but honestly, if you were genuinely sincere with yourself, is this a person that you would want to invite over to dinner and introduce to all your friends? Probably not, because your friends would then be dead. And so would you, most likely. I love how Moriarty is written in Sherlock, and I appreciate the fact that his crazy is not, well, he's just crazy. Like, it's extreme narcissistic disorder mixed with all of these other things, and in my opinion actually deals with that particular kind of mental illness fairly respectfully, rather than being like, well, he's crazy, so that's why he does everything. That's kind of a sore spot with me, to be honest. But when it comes down to it, as much as I love how well that guy is written, and I respect the people who created him, and how well the actor portrays him, etc., etc., there is no freaking way I want to hang out with that dude. So when we say we appreciate villains, maybe what we really love is the art that goes into making a three-dimensional character who is horrible, but still has aspects that make them appealing. So really, possibly what we love is the art that goes into portraying a villain well. So I guess the real proper conclusion I'm going to make on this video is essentially what makes us actually hate a villain is when they resemble too closely the villains of our own lives. Like, I am never, hopefully, ever going to be able to comprehend Wizard Hitler on a personal level. But I have met my fair share of Joffreys and Umbrages, and I am quite sure that I will continue to meet them. Because the truth of the matter is, the bullies of our lives, unlike the supervillains, don't just go away. They are uncomfortably eternal. You can't defeat them. They are always going to be replaced, sometimes immediately, by someone else exactly like them. But on a happier note, Loot Crate this month, it's the last day to sign up to get the Villains package. It looks really awesome. Gonna throw up a graphic here. What? And not only is it fantastic in general, but if you go through the link that I provided below, you should be able to get a bit of a discount, if I recall correctly. Oh, and those of you who won my Loot Crate challenge, the Twitter people, I've already reached out to you. Donald on Facebook, check your other folder. Just a friendly reminder, because I haven't heard back from you, so I don't think you know that exists. And if you're going to NerdCon, I will be there with Holland and Becca and the Two Bro Geeks doing basically geeking on a budget, I believe is what it's called. But I'm super excited to see them and get to hang out and all that awesome stuff. As always, please leave your own thoughts and theories in the comments below. You guys know I love to hear from you. And please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. It's always fun to get new people joining in our little community here. I've arrived at my office, so you have a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed this video and share it with your friends. Maybe have a little bit of discussion about villains amongst yourselves. And most importantly, of course, stay curious. Bye.